Welcome to Relationship Mastery, a podcast for those who want to learn how to master the art of creating happy, healthy, and loving relationships. Please join me, Adey-Jones, and my co-host, Barry Selby, each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific for a lively and informative conversation on everything to do with relationships. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another week. And Barry and I are probably going to agree a lot today. We're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions. It's that time of year again when we there's a lot on our mind about what we'd like to do differently for the year coming up. And, in some ways it can be a really positive time of year to really reflect and take stock on what the last year brought about and what you'd like to see differently. But as we said, also some pitfalls to those New Year's resolutions. So before I share my opinion, I'd love to hear from Barry. What's your opinion, Barry?
I'll tease a little bit of it to start with, though. What came up for me was thinking about how some people base their New Year's resolutions on what happened before, which is kind of like a self-flagellation experience where you're basically beating yourself up for what you didn't do right last year. So you make New Year's resolutions to fix, in quotes, what you didn't do, do next year. I have a whole thing I'll go into a bit later about why resolutions don't work. That's another story entirely. But the thing is, for many people, resolutions are this almost constriction idea. Like, I'm going to be clean this one, clean and sober. I'm not going to smoke anymore. I'm going to quit drinking. All these things that we do that are such big leaps from where we are that it's almost like setting ourselves up for failure, because it's not incremental improvements. It's a massive, like, I'm going to be so different in next day, from December 31st to January 1st. It's like, it's insane. So yes, we will have some different things to talk about.
Oh, wonderful. I totally agree with you. This is going to be a boring show. We're going to agree on everything.
We'll have some fun with it, though.
It's so true. It is. We set ourselves up with these, as you say, these massive leaps. It's like from one day to the next, I'm this way for this, I've been this way my whole life, and tomorrow I'm going to be different and completely different. And what happens is often, not only is the leap so huge that it's bound that we're going to fail, we then, as you said, flagellate ourselves. We then, use it as proof that there's something wrong with us and that we can't accomplish anything. But before we go into all the negatives, which we've immediately jumped into, I think we can just, give a little bit of, credit for some of the stuff. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with, as I said, reflecting on. I do this actually every time I go into the next decade. I instead of being like, oh my God, now I'm in my 30s, or now I'm in my 40s or 50s or 60s. Now I tend to look at it as, okay, what did I really gain this last decade, and what do I want to leave in that decade and not bring into the next decade of my life? And so it's actually a very positive thing for me. It's not a setup. It's more of a sort of taking an account of how far I've come in life and what I've learned and what I really love to carry forward and what I'd really just like to sort of let go of and leave in the past. So again, a New Year's resolution is very much the same thing. We just do it every year, not like me every 10 years. So it's great in a way to set goals. It's great to sort of, as I say, reflect and on your life and take into account many things that have worked for you and maybe some things that haven't worked for you. But as you said, it's that from one day to the next. And the other thing we tend to do is we don't just do it in one area and just say, I'm going to ease into this, so I'm going to focus on this. We tend to write a laundry list of all the things that we find fault with ourselves, and then set ourselves up to change all of those things, as you say, overnight.
Right.
I think that can have a very, it can have a rebound effect. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
So no, you go and then I'll say what I was.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the fact that people do have resolutions is a step in the right direction, meaning you're focusing on something different for the new year, which is not a bad thing to do. It's just the execution of it and then the mechanics of it can be improved upon.
Yeah.
The challenge on resolutions for me is most people's resolutions are often based upon what they want to do differently. That's not the same as what happened before, versus what they want to do this year that's better than they've done before. And that shift is key
Mhm.
because some people's resolutions are, this is the year I'm going to quit smoking. So you're focusing on smoking. So like languaging, we talked about this language before, I believe, we'll talk about it again, how what the subconscious mind hears, or the unconscious mind, friend might correct me on that, is not quitting, but it's on smoking because that's the major focus. So the thing is, when we say we're going to quit smoking, what we keep thinking about is smoking. This is harder to do. We're focusing on my resolution within a year is going to have free, clean breathing, be healthy and whole, and have absolutely vital way of being in life, sort of thing. Those sort of terminologies are much more positively focused. So that's one thing, is shifting your languaging into a affirmative direction. There's one piece. The second piece is, and this is the thing, is that resolutions have this tendency to be emphatically pursued for about 5 days. You
Yours
know,
5 days? Wow, you do good.
some people go for a whole month, some people go for 2 days. No, but the reason being is because resolutions are an annual thing. And one of the things I talk about in my work is a lot about intention setting and the power of setting intentions, because intentions are what you intend to do versus resolving to do. And that language shift is also a key thing because the intention is invitational. It's expansive. Resolution is like bringing your act together and making it more firm, more committed. And for some people that works, but for most people it doesn't. So having the idea of setting New Year's or even January, because you do it every month, intentions is a better focus of your energy. And we're getting to break down it further on, but that's kind of my language shift I invite people to think about.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's wonderful. And the big one for me is when that we put all this focus on once a year, and really the reality is every second of every day, I mean
Yes.
millisecond, we can make changes. But
Right.
we tend to sort of give ourselves this thing of like, I'm going to misbehave for the rest of the year, and then on January 1st I'm going to make this change or this adjustment. And I
Yep.
think that also is something that we can look at, because if something is stirring inside of you to make a change, a healthier choice or something like that for yourself, why delay? Why say it has to happen on this certain day on the calendar? If it's
Hmm.
already occurring to you that this is something that maybe is something you want to change or improve upon or commit to, then yeah, any day, any time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that key as well, that's the other part, because resolutions oftentimes, because they are an annual opportunity, oftentimes people put a lot of weight on them. Like I said earlier, it's like they make it a big milestone. You were saying the same thing. It's like we make the resolution so big, it's almost impossible to get. So it's like, if you've been a slug, like couch potato for the last 8 months, but January 1st, you're going to do a 5 mile run, you're going to hurt yourself.
Hmm.
So shifting your focus of, yes, you want to do a 5 mile run by, say, June, and you want to build up to it each month by getting more and more distance in your running. That's a smarter way of doing things. And especially if you're over 20, because some people, when they're kids, can do that, no problem. But most of us who are more mature maybe have to take time to build up the muscle, build up the strength, build up the bone density to be able to do certain things physically. So in all of those resolutions, some of them are such a big leap from where you are that, again, it's almost like trying to climb a cliff without any skills. Like, better yet, to make it a step, like a staircase, step at a time, building up to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And also on that, maybe take one of the, maybe there are, say, three areas of it. Maybe you want to focus more on your business. Maybe you want to focus more on your health, or on giving up a negative habit that's depleting you or whatever. Instead of doing them all on the same day, as you say, spread them out. Not
Mhm.
only do you have a plan within that, say it's within your business, that you can say, okay, you can set mini goals that lead up to a bigger goal over a certain amount of time. And maybe say to yourself, you know what, right now I'm just going to focus on that. I can get to my health, or vice versa. Maybe you need to be healthier to start with. So focus
Right.
on health first. Um, but it is this lumping everything together, having this sort of like this rush, the euphoric sense of, okay, tomorrow's the day, this is when it's all going to happen. And then it's sort of just as you say, I mean, I think that you're right. I mean, I think they say most people, they've broken their resolutions within the first week for sure, if not
Yeah.
less than that. And then that deflation that sense of failure um, can be really debilitating, and it can actually, you can go backwards into your bad habits, or you're not trying to eat healthier or exercise daily, or whatever it is that you do. You use it as a, to flagellate yourself, or as proof that you can't do anything, you set your mind to.
Yeah, but using resolutions as a self-denial tool is not an ideal way of doing things for sure. And that is the thing, is that most people unfortunately have learnt by, quote, making mistakes or not succeeding, that they will keep repeating the same thing again and again unless they choose something different. And what we're suggesting here is that there are different ways of doing this that will in fact be more success delivering, more fulfilling, and a more and frankly easier. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what's occurring to me, Barry, is one, we both went to USM, so we have a lot of the USM vernacular. But I always remember hearing it's like when you state something, don't state it as a fact of now. Like, say, up until this point, I used to blah blah blah. So it's not like, you don't claim it as like, I'm a smoker that's going to give up smoking. It's like, up until this point, I smoked. I'm not smoking as I move forward. So again,
Yeah.
it's languaging. Let's talk about that, because I think that is very important. Is when we've
Oh yeah.
established that we're going to not just have it all happen on the one day, and we're going to overload ourselves and burn ourselves out and decide that we can't achieve anything. So we are going to say one thing. And so let's
Yeah.
just talk about the languaging around that, and have it be, because most people's are things like, well, not many people smoke anymore, but maybe you use smoking as one, or drinking too much, or whatever it is. So let's talk about the languaging around that, and how we can have it
Oh.
be more positive.
Well, that's the key word, positive, by the way, because a lot of people will tend to make resolutions. This is true when you just make declarations of what you're going to do, or you state something. Oftentimes, we'll speak in the negative, saying that I'm not going to do that anymore, whatever that is, or I'm going to stop doing this thing. So the key word you use there being affirmative is absolutely. It's like when you start declaring what you want to have, not what you don't want to have. Because one of the things is that our unconscious mind doesn't hear the negations. Our unconscious mind is kind of simpler. It just hears the focus. So again, it's like, see, you can just quit smoking. You don't hear quit, just hear smoking. So rather than saying something, I'm going to stop doing this, or I'm not doing that anymore. Yes, definitely say I did it in the past up until this point, and I'm going to change and do this in the future. So positive focus of what do you want to create, do. So again, if you want to do a new habit, you want to be exercising, then focus on what you do want to do, which is being healthy, being fit. So affirmative language definitely in the present moment. So I'm going to be fit in 3 months. No, I'm working on my fitness now. And that's the thing, is also some people find it hard to say, I am fit now, like an affirmation. It's like, well, the thing is, if you don't feel it, it doesn't work. But if you say I'm getting fit every day, then it creates an action step that's actually happening, and it kind of creates momentum, which is one of these key things as well with affirmations and resolutions as well. So that's
Yeah.
another piece.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying there, because we'll take the fitness for a second. And when we've created this thing about, I'm going to be walking or running 5 miles a day, it does feel disingenuous to say, I'm a healthy, person today, because we haven't achieved that. But if
Right.
you do set those small, little incremental things of like, I'm going to start off by walking. I mean, I walk 5 miles a day because I love it, and I have a dog that loves walking. But
Right.
if I wasn't, walking 5 miles a day right now, and I was somebody that really never went walking, I would be meditating, use meditating.
Oh yeah.
Let's just start off with 5 minutes. And if you achieve that 5 minutes, you can authentically say, I'm a walker, I'm a healthy walker, or I'm a healthy meditator, or whatever
Yes.
it is, because and everybody's got 5 minutes. Everybody can put 5 minutes effort into something that they
Yeah.
that they want to do. And the other thing I wanted to mention here too is, besides using affirmative words and the positive, when we are giving up a behavior that we want to change, say we want to change, if we look at it as something that is being given up, there's the sense of denial, we're denying ourselves of that, the joy of smoking, or the joy of drinking, or too much, or whatever it is. when we look at it as, again, a negative, that we are giving up something that feeds us and gives us joy and pleasure and everything like that, again, it's harder. It's harder to give those things up. So we really do have to put the focus on what you're gaining from
Yes.
changing that behavior, and just keep going there. I I'm loving that I breathe better today than I did yesterday, or that I woke up today without a headache. I'm doing this, and just keep focusing on the gains and the rewards, not what you perceive as giving up.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, one of those things, one of the keys too, it is a good idea also to track your progress.
Hmm.
Because the thing is that we can, one of the, again, we said about resolutions die in 5 days sort of things, because we don't support ourselves ongoing, because we don't create any structure or any system to support ourselves in what we want to create. So if you create a list of 10 resolutions on New Year's Day, or you at least, we say 10 intentions, they won't tend to make themselves happen unless you support them with affirmative language and staying present to them. So by having a journal or some sort of way of tracking what you're doing, whether it's once a week or once a day, you can gauge your progress, not to score yourself negatively back or positively, but to reinforce that you're doing it. Because part of the work is to keep yourself in the game, so to speak. And the thing is, by writing it down, it's a reassurance or a confirmation that you're actually doing the right thing, going the right direction. Yes, you'll have up days and down days, but please do not critique yourself for doing that.
Yeah.
It's part of the journey. But the fact you're continually making progress, because like anything, it's like there's a book by William Glasser called Mastery, and it talks about the plateaus of levels. When you're getting better at something, you get good at a certain skill, and then you reach a certain point, you sort of become a plateau. You get the same level.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean you're done. It just means that you're just taking a rest bit before you go to the next level up. So
Exactly.
recognize that when you're taking action towards where you want to go, you'll be making progress, but it won't be a linear increase in progress all the way through. It'll be stops and starts along the way. The key thing is be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself, let yourself have a break when you make a mistake, or you sleep in one day and don't do meditation or don't go exercise. Get back on the horse the next day, so to speak. It's okay to stop once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. And I love what you're saying. It's really important because we tend to be a little black and white in our thinking.
Oh yes,
Little or nothing, and it's we see these trajectories of like it's all linear going straight up, and it's like it's not. It's always in steps. It's always a little leap up. It's in consciousness, whatever it is. There's a leap up, a leap up. But the analogy I look at, it's like climbing that mountain. Unless we stop at certain points and look around at the vista and appreciate how far we've come up or what the view is from that place on that mountain, what's the point if we've always got our back to whatever we're climbing? I mean, I love to climb a mountain here called Bush, and it's like you're climbing and climbing, you're feeling really good about yourself, and you're huffing and puffing, and then you stop and you look around, you see the view and the ocean, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I got this high, because I never would
yeah,
have seen it from the ground. And
exactly.
it's taking those moments to breathe it in and to acknowledge how far we've come, and again to just rest a little sometimes before we go on the next leg of our journey.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, I go hiking every morning in a local hills near to me, and it's about a 4 mile loop. But it's like sometimes getting out in the morning and like getting halfway up the road, the fire road up to the top of the hill. There's part of me that's like wants to quit. I know I won't, but it's part of me just goes, "Can we just give up now?" It's like, no, we keep going. But every time I get to the top and I know this is going to be downhill for a while,
Yeah.
it's suddenly like, oh, okay, now I can keep going. And yes, the same thing with the views, especially when it's not cloudy, you can just see for miles. And it is that sense that it's worth the journey to get there.
Hmm.
And that's the thing about this with this life. I mean, life is a journey to be on anyway. So no matter if you're exercising or not exercising, you're still on a journey. So why not add more flair to it?
No, exactly. And the other thing that's occurring to me is like when you talked a moment ago about the goals and the structure, and giving ourselves, when we have a goal that's so far ahead, sometimes we can get despondent, or it does feel too far, or whatever it is. But if we add a little structure and put those little signposts, as we call them, along the way to say, yeah, you've reached this milestone, or this, we still know there's a bigger goal out there. Say it is weight loss, say it is, and is not going to happen overnight by any means, or whatever these things are, the goals that we have for ourselves, or maybe in business it is, making a certain amount this year, or this whatever month, or whatever. but to just see the little things, notice the little things, the indicators, the markers, the signposts that say, yes, you're going in the right direction. Because we need those. We know that we need that positive encouragement. We need that little feedback to say, yeah, you actually are accomplishing something. It's not, as I said, it's not that, you haven't done anything until you get to your goal.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the thing is it's like having small victories versus one big achievement.
Yeah.
There was something else we learned in USM. I remember the 3-foot toss game, if you remember that one.
Yes.
There was one of the biggest lessons we got, and it was basically the idea, and I'm not going to get the whole explaining how it works. Basically, the lesson we kept learning is that when we set up a goal, because Reed talks about this thing about resolutions, where it's a goal that is so far ahead that it's going to be amazing when we get there, but the odds of hitting that from where we stand now are 1 in a million.
Yeah.
But if we in fact say, you know what, that's the goal I want to go for, but I'm going to take one step back, but when I see where I can go next, I can see it clearly, I can take that action and be there, that short step, and then we can go, great, this is awesome. But the thing about it is, what's so key is when you get to take that step, you get to look at your view again and go, oh, hang on a second, I need to turn left a bit more here, or a bit more right, whatever that is. And so each one of these baby steps, for want of another term, is incrementally in the right direction. The great thing is that you can also, especially if you can set up, maybe it's going to be every 1 or every 10 steps you take. You can create mini celebrations along the way too, and affirm how well you're doing, because it's like waiting to the end of the journey can feel like it's going to take forever, and frankly, it can be easy to feel like you're losing hope and feeling just downhearted about it. So, to choose to make milestones along the way to the goal, where you can celebrate and honor yourself, and kind of look back and see the view you can look back on that you've done, is absolutely key for this to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing as you're talking, I'm thinking about, I love that whole 3-foot toss thing, was when I
Yeah.
didn't learn to ski as a child. I learned to ski when I was probably just turning 30. And I remember the ski instructor. Do you ski, Barry?
Say again?
You ski?
I used to a long time ago, but I also didn't do it when I was a kid.
Okay. So I just remember the instructor saying to me, don't look at the ground. Look down at the base of the mountain. Look where you're going. Look how you're doing. Now, every time I looked up, I fell over.
Yeah.
And I had to argue with these ski instructors and say, I don't work like that. If I can look 6 feet ahead of me, 10 feet ahead of me, I stay upright. I can get down that mountain, no problem. But if I look too far ahead, I panic, and
Yeah.
I lose my balance. And I often think about that as a goal as well. Know yourself. Maybe looking down to the bottom of the mountain works for some people. Clearly, if the ski instructor keeps telling you that works, it's got to work for some people.
Absolutely.
But for me, it didn't. As I said, it terrified me, and I lost my balance, and I fell every single time. So know yourself, know what's right for you. I mean, what Barry and I are sharing here it's not dogma. It's not like this is the only way to do it. But the other
Right.
thing I wanted to share, which has been so helpful for me, and I know it sounds like people start laughing at me. And yes, I can be neurotic. I will admit it. But I have a Google Calendar that I live by. I absolutely have my calendar, and I have a color coordinated calendar, and I have many different calendars within my Google Calendar. And within that, I have time for my exercises in yellow, my writing time is in whatever, and blue,
Yeah.
actually blue, and I have all this color coded calendar, and I have my meditation time is in purple, and my reading time is this, and I because I'm such a visual person, I schedule time in my day for all the things that I know really help me with my well-being. And I have it in the calendar. It doesn't mean it all gets done. And all my other tasks and my coaching and all of that stuff and recording the show, everything is in there as well.
Right.
Sometimes things have to get moved from one day to the next, and all my appointments are in there. But I can look at a glance. I can tell whether my life looks like it's in balance or not. Now, if it was all green, which is all my coaching, and just a tiny bit of yellow, I know I'm out of balance. And if there's no purple there and I'm not spending time or setting time aside for meditation, I know it's out of balance.
Yeah.
And this calendar I've had for years. I do it this way, and I look at it. The last thing I do before I go to bed, I look during the day because I'm so busy. I have to keep on top of things. and I start my morning off with it. But it gives me a sense of my mind is quieter, because it's not like I don't have the you should, you should, you should. It's laid out there for me, so I'm very calm. I know that it's, and I'm not so rigid that it's got to be followed 100% by any means, but it is actually relaxing to me rather than busy making. It's sort of it's like, yeah, I've taken care of it. I'm not had that constant little niggly thing that says you should be doing this. You remind yourself to do this. It's all very organized. I have
Oh yeah,
my task list that things get ticked off, and I feel so good when I see that happening. So there's little things that you can do to support you, like we said, to support you in structuring these changes that you might want to make.
absolutely. In fact, speaking on that note, because I started using a day planner back in the 80s. God, dating myself now. Um, before there were smartphones and Palm Pilots and calendars, that sort of thing, I used to do a paper calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I studied with David Allen way back when, before he wrote before he did Getting Things Done, but he was doing business time management teachings back in the 80s. And then someone asked him once, like, do you write things down to remember them? He said, no, I write things down to forget them.
Yes.
And people were like, what? He said, yeah, because the thing is, when you write them down, you don't have to keep your mind full of them. Like you were saying, that whole thing of keeping busy and focusing and distracted by what's going on. When you write it down, your, again, unconscious mind goes, I can rest.
Yeah.
It's somewhere safe. I know where it is because I know where I'll find it. And the good thing now with digital calendars, with Google Calendar, I use iCal on my phone, that calendar, you can put notifications. So that way, when something's come up in, if you give yourself half an hour lead time, or when it's happening, you get a beep and you go, oh yeah, it's time to do that. And you don't have to worry about it before then.
Exactly.
And if you set a calendar correctly, especially like with coaching, having a window in between each session, which is one of the things I always do. I don't do back-to-back coaching because I need to have time for myself, like you were saying, is having like a 30-minute gap. I know when that goes off, I've got time to prepare for the next time. So using a calendar smartly and wisely to basically take it out of your head and put it down so you can, in a way, can forget about it is a gift. So it makes things much easier.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't even know that was. I just thought it was something I came up with, but
Sorry.
no, I'm glad it's out there, because I know, because people just go, oh, that's a lot of work, and I keep saying, no, it's actually it quietens my mind. It's actually
Yes.
soothing, and they're looking at me like, no, you're crazy. But I'm somebody that's saying, yes, it is. It's once it's written down, you can put it aside. You don't have to be thinking about it or worried about it.
Absolutely.
I think we've shared some pretty good things here on how to structure, resolutions, and it's to say, don't have them. Don't not want that desire to have a healthier, happier, more productive life. It's just, again, don't put these unrealistic expectations on yourself that you're going to end up feeling worse about yourself. And maybe there's something that you can plan for this month, the month of January, and maybe February, you've got another thing you can add. But again,
Yeah.
space it out. It doesn't have to all happen today.
No, and underscoring is that having it as an intention versus a resolution, sound like simple wordplay, but intention is where you set your intention to intend something to happen, to make something happen, whereas resolving is a more of a rule-based type structure. So definitely watch the language you use, and by setting intentions as your New Year's start, you'll find yourself in a much more, just graceful way of doing things.
Yeah.
So try it on for size.
All right. And on that note, we're going to wish everybody a really fabulous, wonderful, happy new year.
Indeed.
So thank you. And we will see you all next week.
Take care of yourselves.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. We trust you enjoyed this episode and invite you to share this with your friends and loved ones. In fact, please subscribe to our Relationship Mastery podcast. That way you'll get each new episode fresh and shiny as soon as it is released. We'd love to hear from you as well. So go ahead and enter your questions and comments at relationshipmastery.show. Take good care. We will connect with you in our next episode of Relationship Mastery.